Hey, Brian, it's been a while. How are you? How have you been?
It's been a minute, man. Doing good. So we're international right now. We're out in Romania visiting my wife's parents. It's fun. We're in a little studio here. Not too bad. But yeah, just trying to get the job done, doing everything we can, sticking, to our typical client schedule, even though the times are pretty
hmm
much opposite. So it's pretty late here. What time is it where
Yeah,
you're
1
at? You're
p.m.
about,
And it's
what, 1
hot. It's
p.m.?
about 100. Yeah,
1 p.m.? Yeah, I
it's about
memorized the
100
times.
degrees. Yesterday was 91 degrees. So we went from being somewhat slow to being busy in a period of days.
That's how it works. And that's like the last sprint of the sun summer. You know what I mean? Like it always gets really hot for one last week and then the
Yeah.
temperatures
Actually, I
just
want to,
slide right off.
yeah. Well, but here's the
So you guys
thing
are still
is
busy.
typically our business slows down in the fall. So right now we're in the
Mhm.
fall. And business typically slow down. So you're running my ads. You've been doing my Facebook ads for coming up on 2 years, actually. Pretty soon, I think year and a half, something like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So we're running the Facebook ads continually. When things slowed down, we started texting the customers a lot. But when it got to be 100 degrees, we kind of turned off the texting. But we keep the Facebook ads running. And this is
Mhm.
why I think that's important. It's interesting because we're able to turn off the texting campaigns when it gets hot because I know for a fact that our company is branded well enough where people know the name of the company, they know the name of the business, that when the demand comes, we don't need to reach out to the customers. We know we're going to get that demand. And I talk to a lot of business owners, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, where things get slow and they'll actually stop ads, which is not good. What are your thoughts on that?
It's not. You would think it makes sense, but then again, when you're trying to just nickel and dime your own company, you're stopping the wheel. So it's kind of like I don't know, say you had a hydroelectric dam, and sorry, this just hit me. So if I go off with this, but the water is running and it's spinning the wheel. You have power, and say your batteries go up to 100% capacity. If that's how hydroelectric works, I don't know. I'm not an engineer. But then you're like, oh, we can shut off the water. We'll save some of the man hours there and we'll go somewhere else. Well, eventually, those batteries will die very quickly. And all of a sudden you're scrambling to go back and get the water flowing again. But then that water to generate more electricity takes time. So it's not just going to be there versus if you just like let the water keep flowing, everything's working perfectly. Your pipes are working perfectly. Let it keep flowing because it's just going to be that continuous flow, I guess, of water in this example, so you never have to really worry about it again. That's one area that's fixed. And if something's working correctly, you don't want to break it down. But also, when it comes to ads, you want to keep your brand name out there. You're always reaching out to new customers. It's always going to have more reach. New people are always going to be finding you. And it just snowballs, right? So then your goal is really as a business to be the most known in your area. Like we're the best at doing this. We're the best, fixing this. So even if you can't take on new customers, people are still learning about you. Because if you think about what happens if you get, I don't know, like 20 people on your calendar and then half of them cancel, and it's just like not great leads, which we all know that's something that's always troublesome. You call someone, they just, show up to the appointment. You want to make sure that that flow is just constantly coming in because it's always going to pull in new people. And not only that, but when you run ads, the algorithm is looking for better and better people always. So the more you run it, the longer you run it, the better it's going to turn out. And you can put your budget up or down. During the summer, you might take down your budget a little bit, and then you want to up it during
Mhm.
the slower seasons, like starting September. Not for you because you're at 100 degrees, but in other areas like, New Hampshire and Maine, like you want to maybe put it up a little bit to expand the reach and start offering maintenance plans or something that's more of a maintenance vibe to it. And you're not looking for, the people that just need your services right away. You're really just trying to go for the long play where it's like, hey, you see me enough because when they see you enough, they trust you more. And then whenever they have the problem or they want to get the
Yeah.
fix, they already think about you. And that's
Yeah.
the best way to really just keep it running, especially when it's just
Yeah,
keeping the
and
brand
there's
awareness like running
an
always.
amazing story about Wrigley Gum, where have you heard the story about them
Wrigley
advertising
gum?
thing? Okay. So,
No.
during the Depression, I mean, the Great Depression, no one had money, right? So, most companies stopped advertising because they felt like they were bleeding. Well, Wrigley Gum
Mhm.
continued to advertise. And after the Depression, actually, I think it might have been during the First World War, I'm not sure. But after that, they exploded. all the other competition was dead. And this is why it's interesting. If you're the only person advertising for a long period of time, you become so entrenched, it's hard to beat.
Mhm.
And so there's a quote that says, um, in a room full of people, you can't even hear someone yelling, but in an empty room, even a whisper can be heard. So if you think about it, if you're,
Yep.
let's say you're running an HVAC company and things are slow, and then everyone has stopped advertising, you're the only person talking in that room. Everyone can hear you. But what we typically do is we stop when the
Mhm.
room is empty and we wait until it's extremely hot and the demand is there and we start to run ads. Well, guess what? You're in a room full of people, everyone's yelling, and you're yelling also. Really, you want to be in a room where it's quiet, right? So I believe, yeah, if you want to ramp it up during the demand season, I believe that's a great strategy instead of ramping it down during the slow season. So you have your base where you say, this is how much I'm going to spend on branded
Mhm.
ads. X amount. I'm going to do that throughout the year. I'm never going to go lower than this, but maybe in the higher demand season, I might go higher than this because you're branding now, which brings up a good
Mhm.
point. Now, I want to hear your thoughts on this. So, what makes a good ad and what makes a bad ad? Because I hear a lot of people when I'm consulting clients and they'll say, well, I tried this, I tried that, I tried postcards, I tried Facebook ads, I tried this type of ad. It didn't work. But if
Mhm.
I go up and I advertise my HVAC company, I run a Facebook ad and I'm wearing this, okay, and I'm in front of a tree and there's no branding, no one's gonna remember that. I can put $100,000 in that ad versus
Yeah.
I'm wearing my uniform, I'm in front of my truck, I'm saying a slogan, I'm saying my business name. I can put a lot less money in that. So it's really not about the platform. It's about the ad. What are your thoughts on that?
It's all about the message. I don't know if you've ever had this, but like sometimes whenever we're watching Hulu or something, any streaming service now, if you don't pay the extraordinary fee to get ad free, which I mean, can't do it on all of them. But me and the wife will watch some commercials and we're just like, what was that even an ad for? And at the very end, it'll be like lipstick. I'm like, it showed a guy driving a
Uh-huh.
car. Like, how is this for lipstick? Like, it makes no sense. So you have to, it has to be relevant, but also there's a certain standard that we do for good ads, starting from zero to hero. There's a term called the purple cow, which I'm sure you're aware of. That's Dan Antonelli's term, maybe not his exact term, but it's a very good point where you want to get to eye-catching ads. But there's really a step-by-step process to getting to that point because you don't want to just start out your first advertising campaign as, a purple cow. You want to introduce yourself to the service area. So when you look at a bad ad versus a good ad, bad ads in my mind are going to be cookie cutter ads that everyone sees the same exact thing. So whenever you see an ad that shows an HVAC unit, hey, we have a sale going on now. This is that. 20 other companies are going to be doing that in your service area. And at that point, it all comes down to the offer, which is going to be your price. So you're going to have to start price gouging, or you're going to have to get creative with, the rebates, which are going away December 31st, like you know. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen in that atmosphere because I think it's going to come back to the personal branding, which is something that we always run. So when it comes to a good ad, number one, you as the business owner, you want to be in front of the camera. And I know I have a couple clients that aren't comfortable in front of the camera, and we have essentially someone who is the face of the company, right? So we use, a paid actor almost. But for the most part, whenever the owner's in front of the camera introducing, their company, always just 10 out of 10 always works better than just a regular photo ad that just drops a price. Those are still good to use because you have to have those where they show up on like Instagram Explore, certain pages that don't really allow videos and it's just like a really quick pop up. So if you have a really great offer, use a picture because it's just going to pop up. Like I have one client that has no credit, bad credit, no problem,
Mhm.
killed it with just a photo ad. But then we put him in front of the camera and it's, hi, my name is Brian. I'm here with Brian's HVAC. I know what it's like in these, Romanian summers. I'm just going to use where I'm at as an example. You give a backstory about where you're from, what your company kind of stands for. And yeah, we've been supporting our schools for so long. We do this retreat like every single year for teachers, and we're just pumped to be part of this community that we've been part of for so long. And it's just, and then it shows B-roll of them being part of the community, going to like, farmers markets, having a stand set up, showing their truck and showing their face while they're wearing a
Mhm.
polo always works because then you get the recognition. So when you're driving around, people will, look to the
Mhm.
right while they're
Yep.
driving. They're like, oh, that's a truck that I've seen in the Facebook ads because, Facebook and
Yeah.
Meta for branding is. outrageous. You get 10,000 people reached every single month around there. And it all depends on your ad spend, obviously. But those are the types of ads that you want to be pushing out first. And I always see people making the mistake of not editing their videos. You know, the video will start with them taking a gasp of air and then readying themselves and then basically giving the script that they
Yeah.
memorize, and it just looks very awkward. And, you know, that's the thing that we do. We write scripts for our clients where we're like, this is just the overall flow. This is what you want to say and when you want to say it. And it breaks it down into 4 simple parts. Part 1 is going to be your introduction, who you are, what you do. Part 2 is going to be how you are an impact in your community, what you guys are doing different. So go back to, you know, we volunteer and we help, you know, teachers in our school district and all that stuff. And then you also want to be dropping an offer, right? So you have to have an offer in there, like, you know, no credit, bad credit, like no problem. We can help you out. And then number 4 is going to be your call to action. So whenever we write these scripts for people, the very first videos, whenever a client signs on, the very first few videos are always not the best, right? Because they're nervous, they're trying to memorize like word for word what they have to say. But over time, because we guide them, we're like, don't do it word for word. Just get this, what we just said in your mind, and then just make it into your own words. And then it always comes out better.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, you have video editing. So if you mess up, you pause, you breathe, you can look at your notes if you want, then you just start over again and it just looks seamless. Right. And that's what you want it to be. You want it to no gaps or, you know, kind of left in the video. It's all action. You're switching shots, you know, 5 seconds. So you want to switch it from like you talking to a B-roll or you just at a different angle. Those are good ads.
Mm-hmm.
The bad ones are when you just have the talking face, like how we're doing this kind of video, where it's just the entire time monotone, no excitement, no animations on the
Yeah.
screen. People are going to tune out. It's all about, you know, kind of not being entertaining, but you have to capture people's attention. And that's what it's all about. And whenever you put yourself out there as a business owner, it builds up that trust. And then the longer you run it, you know, every client that we have, eventually, I know you get this. But another client we just signed on 2 months ago he was like, someone just recognized me from
Amazing.
the ads at the door. They're like, oh my God, you're the guy from the ad. And he was like, yeah. It was like, it was a really cool feeling. And I was like, yeah, that's a start. Then pretty soon people start
Yeah.
recognizing you and you're just at the grocery store, you're out in public, you're at the Home Depot picking up supplies, whatever it is. And it's interesting because that's all about the brand recognition. That's what you want to really aim for. And
Yeah.
leads are going to be always coming
And
in from
if
that.
they
So,
don't come in, if the lead doesn't come in, they'll come in when they're ready, right? That's the thing is people don't stop and think about is, okay, somewhere out there is someone that will need your service in 2 months. Okay, what you're doing is you're having a conversation with them over and over and over and over, and then when they need you, they call you. Okay, but sometimes, and I'm guilty of this,
yeah.
is you run ads and you're like, I didn't get any calls for 2 weeks, but you're still interacting with people, right? So if Miss
Hmm.
Susie, her AC goes out next year, you want to be in the conversation the whole previous year so that she calls you, right? But if she's never heard of you and then her AC breaks Monday, you may be one of the 3 people that bid, okay? But if she's been watching you for a year, and I've had that before where, and you know, we do these ads. I have one that you're running for me where I'm running next to the truck. I'm literally sprinting next to my van.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
people
the Amazon
call and
custom.
then
Yeah,
they'll
that's a good
say,
one.
"Oh, I watched you because I just love that video of you running." And they've been watching it for weeks and weeks and weeks. They didn't need me, but then when they needed me, it's like, "Oh,
Hmm.
where's that guy that's always running online?" Because if you think about it, you don't have people trapped in handcuffs when you're running a Facebook ad or you're running an Instagram ad. And what I mean is, when we're watching TV, if you're watching The Voice on actual cable and the ad comes on, you can't skip it for the next
Hmm.
15 seconds. Okay, they have to watch it for at least 15
Yeah,
seconds.
you're
But on
there.
Facebook and all these or these reels or TikTok, even if you're not doing paid ads, you're just doing organic content, they can skip it whenever they feel like it. So you can't, it has to be
Hmm.
engaging. When I give you an example, I watched one the other day of a guy, he was selling HVAC, and he said, "Hey," so he's standing next to an old unit, and he says, "Hey, you don't want this old unit. Call us for a brand new 16 SEER, blah, 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 blah." And then the video ended. Okay, why? You gotta have something that's
Yeah.
in it for them. If I just say, "Hey, call me for a new AC," that's only about me. There needs to be something in it for you. "Hey, call me about a new AC because A new AC will get your electric bill lower. It'll make the air in your home cleaner. You can save $2,000 because of this. You can, if you don't have a reason for them to call you and it's only about you existing, that's a bad ad, right?
It is, and it's I mean, you see it a lot nowadays, right? So let's use me as an example right now, and let's do a bad
Yeah,
ad
let's do
versus
it.
a good ad. Does that sound fun? Hopefully, this is better than the hydroelectric water thing I try to put out there. But all right. So marketing is very. God, I just got nervous because I'm thinking about an
Yeah.
ad, but it's very saturated, right? So there's so many competitors, and right now, here's an example of like what I would consider a bad ad for it. Are you tired of getting bad leads? Are you tired of this? Well, if you want 30 leads in the first 30 days, we will do all of that. And they're just promising the world. I'm not doing a very good job at this, but it's like, yeah, we'll get you 30 leads in the first 30 days. We'll put, 30 leads into your contact book and we're going to get it done. And click below right now. And that's how it's going to work out. So that's a bad ad just because everyone's saying the same thing. And whenever you see someone saying, we're going to get you 30 leads, that does not mean it's going to translate to dollars for your company. If anyone can get 30 leads, and I've seen companies out there, not to badmouth people, but companies will just hire bots to fill out the form and then boom,
There's
30
some,
leads is complete.
I didn't know that was a
And
thing.
so that would be, there are companies that do that. I had a client before where he was running ads and he was like, I got maybe like 12 leads a day. And I was like, what was your ad spend? It was minimum ad spend. And he was like, I got 12 leads a day. I never got one phone call. He was like, I tried calling all of them. I never got a single phone call, never got through the door on any of these leads. And I was like, all right, I've heard about this before. And I started doing some more digging, asking around in my circle about people that do this. Yeah, AI is kind of terrifying at this point where, they can just like put out bots to fill out forms and they can have a shell company that'll just do it for them. Those are bad actors. You're not going to get that most of the time, but they do exist. But back to it, let's say a better ad that I would probably try and run. I would just say something like, I know running a business is really tough for everyone. I run my own business. My name is Brian Henge. I work directly with my wife. We run our own marketing team and we deal solely with home services. Me and my wife both left our corporate finance jobs and well-paying jobs just because we felt the need to really help people that were sick and tired of getting these bogus claims from marketers that can't really help them. We have a really urgent need to help people actually grow their business and we want to grow with them. So we don't really guarantee any results, but we can guarantee you your best foot forward because we do have systemized practices that we put into play that will get you your business seen and it'll show your business to other people and it'll give it a more personal approach. So if you're tired of dealing with the day to day with other marketers, right now we're offering a free consultation call where we can go through your business, see if you're even ready to run ads or if it's just going to be a waste of money. But, click the form below, take about 30 seconds and let's see
I
if we can
love
help
it.
each other. Something like that is way better. It gives a backstory about me. It shows I work with my wife. I left a corporate. It just
Yeah.
gives more and it just builds up more trust. People feel like they know me
Yeah.
already just from 30 seconds versus when you're just like, you want $2,000 off your
Yeah.
HVAC? Just give us a call. You know what I mean? There's no backstory. They don't know me at all. I can just be a random person saying stuff. So giving a backstory about your business, this is one of the best things I've seen so far. You want people on your team. So when you're running a good ad, it's not about just finding prospective buyers. You're getting people to be on your team. And there's been so many businesses out there. There was one main one where it was this makeup company. And what this girl did was very different. She recorded the entire process. She showed how she was creating the makeups, like the ingredients she was putting in. She was posting constantly about like, hey, we're trying this out. These are the ingredients we're putting in. And people were just following her story. And she has been sold out. Like she can't even take on, new customers. Or if you want her products, like they're months out because people just tuned into her story and they became a part of her
Yeah.
team. They're like, I
Yeah.
want to see this person succeed because she shared like the failures, what's going wrong, what's going right, how this is affecting me mentally and all that stuff. Sharing your
Yeah.
story is
It's
just like such a big part of it.
okay. So I
And
did
a
a
lot of
video
people don't know that.
recently. It was called 66 Profit Producing Ideas, right? It was from an in-person business class that I
Mhm.
did. It was a 7-week in-person business class. And what you mentioned was one of the 66 profit producing ideas. It's called show them how you make the product. It's a very intentional way to do it.
Mhm.
People who run ads that are successful, they're doing things intentionally, right? One way to do it is show people how you do the product because it differentiates you. It makes you different. And I'll give you my examples of good or bad ads from an HVAC side, right? Would be obviously I showed the bad one,
Mhm.
like, hey, you don't want your old AC, you want this new one from me. Horrible. Okay. Horrible.
Yeah.
But how about, and I'll tell you, my most successful post I've ever done had zero ask on it. It went viral, had hundreds of thousands of
Mhm.
views on it, had probably 1,000 or 2,000 shares on it, was a photo of me and my dad, and it literally said, "Hey, my name is Michael. I was born on a shelf in a hardware store." At least that's how it felt being the son of a tradesman. My father has been doing electrical for 45 years, so it was natural for me to start an HVAC company, and I've been doing it now for 21 years. But the most important thing, other than me helping homeowners and being in their homes and making their homes more comfortable, the most important thing is for me to still be able to do jobs with my dad. That's him in the photo next to me. He's just as strong and just as vibrant he was when I was a kid watching him work. That was the most powerful thing I've ever posted online.
Yeah. It told your story in 30s. Like, I know that you got into this because of your dad. And it's
Mhm.
like, it shows you're also close with family and you value what a lot of
Right.
Americans value,
It's
which is
not
being close to the
really,
family.
and that's what I
That's
call
strong. Like,
choreography, right? So in my classes, we teach 4 things,
mhm,
right? We teach frequency, which is bringing people back. We talked about that in the last video. Referrals, average ticket, and price, right? And
mhm,
when you're bringing people back in, there's so many different ways you can do it. One of them is show people how you do the product, like the girl you were sharing. Another thing is tell people who you are. Can you become, here's another strategy. Can you become the only? It's very powerful if you can become the only. I'm the only veteran owned company in my town. I'm the only company that's been in business for 21 years. I'm the only
mhm.
company that does this when I do this. So you pick certain things and you build the ad. But a lot of times what we do as business owners is we take a person like you who knows how to build an ad that converts, okay? Take a person like me
Mhm.
that's been consulting and I know what works and what doesn't, but then us business owners, we say, "Well, I want it like this. I want it like this." And we don't let go of the process. We control the process. And then we say, "Well, I tried it and it didn't work." You know? So, it's frustrating, but I've been guilty of it.
It happens a lot. And it's hard because you're business owners, all of us are. Even I'm guilty of it. So I have my own processes, and when I brought my wife on, I started training her. I very quickly learned I was what I hated, which is being a micromanager. And we even put on our whiteboard in our office like amount of days,
Mhm.
Brian has not micromanaged, and it never gets past 5. So because it's your
Yeah.
business, and you think you know everything that comes in to play, and you know the best practices, but you have to really learn to lean on other people's expertise. So for my wife, like her expertise are like she's very good at social media engagement. She's very good at organizational structure. She's great at, basically just like putting everything into a very neatly tight wrapped box with a bow on it. Versus me, it's a little bit more chaotic. I have to do this. You're constantly putting out fires as a business owner. And so when you have someone that can now, they're not as involved in the business as you, they can just focus on a few very important
Mhm.
things. Let them take free reign. And a lot of our clients, like the ones that have failed, are the ones that there's only 2 that failed. One of
Mhm.
them was like, I did this before and I saw great results. I want to copy the same exact thing. And I was like, that's not really the way that we do things. We can try it. I
Mhm.
just want to let you know, like, I can't guarantee what's going to happen with this because I've never ran it to a homepage. It's taking off Facebook. Like, that's not in your niche. Like, you shouldn't really be doing that. So we ran it and it didn't succeed. And then he was like, what's going on? Like, why is my marketing stuff? And I'm like, look, we tried it your way. Let's try it my way. And then when we started trying it my way, the lead cost went from 80 to 30 per lead. And then it turned out he had a few more holes in his process, like sales process was not really tied in and all this stuff. And that's all stuff that comes up in the first couple months. So we're on literally month 1 with him. And by the end of it, he was just like, I don't think this is going to work. I talked to my partners, like it's just not getting, the results we went on. I'm like, look, we haven't even looked at the metrics from this yet. And I still haven't gone into your sales process. Like, what is it? And he told me, I was like, we have work to do. And he was just like, "No, like, wow, we're gonna try this instead." I was
Yeah.
like, "All right, man, like,
And you
it
know
was fun,
why?
so
You
appreciate
know
your time."
why is
It's just,
because I felt that way before. So I'll think that my sales,
mhm.
and this is very important if you listen to this and you own a business, is I feel like my closing rates are really high because I am converting on people who literally picked up the phone and called me. Okay, right? So I'm in a house, the person's house is 100 degrees, and 9 out of 10 times when I say this will get your house cool, they say yes. So I think, "Hey, I'm a pretty good salesperson." But then when you shift that and you run an ad and this person isn't completely convinced of you, they saw you, now you have to add some kind of salesmanship and you have none. You don't know how to follow up correctly. And this is me. I'm speaking, I'll put both hands up. You don't know that you need to call them immediately. You don't know that if they don't answer, you need to call them the next day. If they don't answer, you need to call them and email them and text them. And you need to follow up. That's what's making the ad fail. Okay. And that's not even on ads, just in your sales process in general. If you never run any ads, if you're doing HVAC estimates or plumbing estimates or electrical estimates, and you're going to the home and you're presenting it and they don't close, and then you never follow up, you don't have a consistent, just changing that alone can bring you from a $1 million company to 3 million. It sounds crazy, but just having a good follow up process is really the difference maker. So there's two things. We talked about what makes a good ad. That's like half the battle. And then there's what makes a good follow-up process, because it's not the ad, it's the ad, the branding in the ad, the conversation that's actually in the ad, and then what happens when they click on it. It's huge.
And let's talk about that real quick. So you have a good ad. Say you have the perfect ad. You built up trust right away. People know your story. You're getting leads coming in. Let's talk about the back end work that a lot of people don't focus on. It's tough because I know in HVAC summertime, you guys are working 16-hour days. You don't have time to really, at the end of the day, when you get home,
Mhm.
the last thing you want to do is your admin work. And it's important because step one of this back end story is going to be your CRM. That lead that you went to all day, right? Those 10 people you went to all day, you have to be able to mark each individual one. So your end of day process should be, I went to this lead, they're thinking about it. I went to this lead, I went to this lead, and you want to make notes on each one. You want to have them in a different bucket for each. And you don't have to get super detailed. Typically we break them out into about 8, 9 different buckets. And it'll be, went into home, gave an estimate. Estimate has been sent. Estimate was accepted. Work started, work complete. Even just having those buckets, but you have to go in every day and organize that structure because the two important ones that you're going to get into are going to be new leads and then no answers. So new leads that, just came in, you have to have a follow-up process for those, but also the ones that never answered. And you have to look into step two, which is going to be what was your follow up process? So in your CRM, you know all about automations, Michael. I know you crush it with them, but a lot of people don't have automations. I'm even talking to one of my clients is $1 million. He just broke the $1 million barrier 2 months ago. And now he's doing great, which is fantastic. But he doesn't have a CRM follow up process. All of his leads that came in that never answered. Easier way to put it, he only was keeping track of the people that answered. I'm like, you're leaving so much on the table with these leads that you never got a response from. What about the ones that you sent an estimate to? You have those saved, good. That's a start. But all the ones that didn't answer, that leads you
Yeah.
into step three, which is going to be your drip campaign. You want to text them, right when they inquire about your business, your dispatcher, the first question should be, all right, what's your name, email, phone number,
Yeah.
gathering their personal information. Okay, how can we help? And people are not going to bat an eye at that. Like whenever I call in for a service, it's the first thing they do.
Yes.
I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, save my information.
Yeah.
So you know my issue so I don't have to re explain it. That's from the a consumer perspective. But then what you have to do is if those people never answer, the drip campaign is your best friend because it's going to send them a text, you know, 3 hours later. Hey, were you still looking to get this done today? How urgent is it? Use an open ended question so that you instigate a response. And then you set it up eventually on a daily cadence. So it's once a day. Then you do that for maybe, I don't know, like 4 days, 5 days. We typically do 5 business days. Then you skip over to, every couple days. So you're staying top of mind. And then if you want to do at least 8 to 12 follow-ups, because 75% of sales are made in the eighth follow-up,
75%.
right? There's a statistic out there.
That's insane.
It's a big one. Let's Google it right now. Yeah, 75% of sales are just made in the follow-up. It's never a one call, one close type deal. But if you just look at sales, and this isn't specific to HVAC, this is just sales industry wide. But
That's
yeah,
insane.
it's a high figure. It's 75% around there, around 80%. So while the exact percentage varies, a common finding is only about 2% of sales are made on the first contact, while the majority, around 80%, are made after multiple follow-ups, specifically between the 5th and 12th contact attempt. So that is why you have to have a concrete follow-up practice. And it doesn't just mean bugging them, being like, hey, are you still there? Hey, are you still interested? No, you want to set it up at first, just friendly, right? You want to be super nice, super friendly. Hey, you inquired about this? Like, what's going on with your system? How can we help? You want to do that for the first like 3 times. And then, well, it's not going to be 3 times exact same phrase, but it's going to be like, hey, are you still having issues? We have a couple slots open tomorrow on our calendar. Hey, just by the way, we're going to be in your area tomorrow. Like, is there a time you want us to stop by? Is morning or afternoon best? You want to use, that's just a sales thing. You want to give them a choice of 2 things because they end up choosing one of them. But then when they don't answer after the fourth or fifth one, you want to start driving more intent, right? And you want to switch up the messaging to, hey, just so you know, energy efficiency rebates are ending this year. You only have about 3 months left to claim $2,000 off or more if you get a new system. Right now, we're
Mm.
matching that. That's one that I sent you from a different company that we were doing, and that's going to drive sales too because they're like, that's going to drive more intent. It's going to make them want to re-engage the conversation. And then we always end it with, hey, just want to make sure our messages are getting through. If you still need help with your system, like, just let us know. But
Yeah.
either way,
Mm.
let us know so we don't bug you. And then usually you'll get an answer from that, but you want to just get an answer. You're paying for these leads. You don't want them just going into cyberspace and just, falling asleep. But even after that, this is the beautiful part that a lot of people miss out on. You want to start a seasonal drip campaign. Even if they don't answer all 12 of your follow-up messages, leave them alone for about 3 months so they just forget about you. Not completely forget about you, but it's like leave them alone for a couple months or until a new season starts. Say it's a switch right now, we're in fall. We're starting to send out texts that say like, hey, the season just switched over, the weather's getting cooler. We want to make sure that you're changing the air filters in your house just so it doesn't burn out your system. By the way, if you do have any issues, we can come out and help. And it's staying top of mind. And you want to start texting them once a month, not
Yeah.
too much more than that, maybe twice a month. But then eventually you can start, once winter hits, you can text them like once a week and just be like, hey, is your heating system? How's everything going with your heating? Right now we're having a deal on boilers, all that stuff. And it's a
We
consistent
did we filled
text
our
message campaign.
entire
So
September
you're
from
from that,
that. Multiple technicians the
really?
entire month. And it's insane. So this is what we do. I called it a rainmaker campaign. It's whatever you want to call it. But basically we take our entire list, and this is the crazy thing. You touched on this. Is every single person that has ever contacted us goes in this list. So if they came into a Facebook ad and they never closed, we called them and called them, they never answered, they're still in the list, right? So I have 6,000
Yeah.
people in the customer list. We send 500 people a day that message. If they respond, they get taken out of the automation. Now we're in a conversation with them. If they don't respond, they get a message in 7 days. So that's 500 people a day
Hmm.
until it got to 6,000. That's 12 days, right? Whatever some math whiz is going to be like, it's 11 days. Okay, well, it's not the point. Okay. So that's a certain number of days. And then after that, after those initial days, 500 people are getting a message every day for weeks. But we haven't been bugging them. We haven't been harassing them
It's a
all
gold
year.
mine.
So this is like their gentle touches. The second message 7 days later is like, hey, I know things are busy. I just wanted to remind you again. You take that tone as if you're texting your friend because these are your customers, right? So it filled the entire month completely. We just turned it off 2 days ago because it got to be 95 degrees. It's the end of September. So it took us through, and that's why you hear people say, and there's a big thing. There was a big debate in one of my Facebook groups where some people were saying there's no such thing as a slow season. And other people were saying, are you crazy? Are you stupid? Of course there's a slow season. You know why there's an argument? is because the companies that are doing this are never slow, ever. But the companies that aren't doing it are slow because you're depending
Mhm.
on the weather. Should never be depending on the weather. If you're watching this and you're not in the trades business, you have your slow times, right? You shouldn't be only dictated by your season. You should be creating the demand. You have to create the demand. It's a slow learning curve, but it has to be done. So, anyways, that was a really long way to say we filled our whole September doing that.
That's awesome. And another big thing that people, we pushed all summer was maintenance plans. And whenever someone does say like, "Hey, we never have a slow season," every single time when I talk to a business owner like that, I'm just like, "Because you have maintenance plans?" And he's like, "Yep." And I'm like, he's like, "We do." The last one I talked to, he was like, "Yeah, we do 300K a month just in maintenance plans alone." And he's like, "And that keeps us busy all season. There's no slow season." I'm like, "Yeah, I bet," because that's when you're slow and you're sending
Yeah,
out texts to go do
it's not
tune-ups and go check
difficult.
on stuff. And, that's something that people already paid for. So it's revenue already recognized. And now you're able to go in there and potentially upsell. It's not about upselling about things that, customers don't need, but you can go in and just say, "Hey, by the way, like your ducks are
Yeah.
filthy. Do you guys suffer from allergies?" And then you want to start asking discovery questions, and then that could get you more jobs, and that's where you upsell, and that's
Upselling is
really
a
the best way to
huge
do it. And
it's a
I feel
huge,
bad for the people
what is the
working.
word? It's like a firebrand when you mention upsells. Some companies love it. You'll hear some HVAC companies say, "Oh, you're upselling, giving away things that people don't want." Like you just mentioned it. Like you said, you're not upsell is not
Mhm.
selling people things they don't need. It's offering things that people may be interested in. None of us get mad when we're in a restaurant and they say, so you order your meal, right? You say, "I'll take the salmon and rice." And they say, "Okay, would you like dessert?" And you say, "Oh, no." You don't get mad. "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you upselled you." If anything, they're taking away your opportunity to get a dessert if they don't offer it, right? But maintenance plans, they're not
Yeah.
difficult to build up. You just have to either do it or not do it. If you're doing 80 service calls a day, if you're a one-man show, you're doing 80 service calls a day. It's 4 calls a day, 5 days a week. That's 80. Okay. If you only convert half of it, you just gave yourself 40 service plans that month. In 2 months, that's 80. In 3 months, that's whatever. Okay. I'm not the math guy. You could easily generate hundreds of service plans and be a one man show, right? But anyway, we weren't talking about that. We were talking about that.
No, but that's a great way to put it too, because you have to. And another big thing is, I know in the HVAC world too, when it comes to being an HVAC business owner, you never want to tell your techs to start being salesmen, right? And so a good way around that, and whenever you're training your techs, if you tell them that, charged word of upsell, they're going to be like, "Oh, like I don't want to, I'm not a salesman. I came in here to just like, I want to be, just do the work and be out." A better way of putting it that I told my last client was, we offer supreme air quality, right? And so what you want to have your techs is, what you want to say to your techs, instead of saying the word upsell, you want to say, "I want to
Mhm.
make sure you're going through the home and offering them the best air quality they could ever get. Go through everything, go through their ducts, go through this, go through that, you know, and
Mhm.
offer them solutions for that." And
Yeah.
that isn't
Yeah.
maybe a better way of saying upsell to a technician, because then they'll understand, "Oh, we can put
Mhm.
a UV air purifier in their ducts if they're really suffering from allergies. Oh, we could do a duct cleaning system. Oh, we could actually, come out and wash this and do a tune up, 3 times a year, 4 times a year versus a normal two, and an additional charge. Like we're just, if that's what's
Yeah.
bothering you, this is what we're trying to do." And that's all about just setting expectations with your techs and being like, "Hey, just offer them the best air quality they can possibly get,
You
because
just
that's what we're
offer it.
after.
You just
Pure
offer it.
oxygen," or something like that. You know what I mean?
You don't twist people's arm. And this is what I say when I talk about upsells.
Yep.
So, Brian, you don't have any kids, I don't think, right? At the moment. Okay. So let's
I
use,
don't.
okay,
Not
your wife.
yet.
All
Not
right. So
yet.
if I was talking to you as a technician or anyone that's listening and say, "Okay, Brian, so your wife or your mom or dad, you find out your mom goes to the auto shop to get an oil change. And she goes in and tells the technician at the auto shop, 'Hey, I'm here to get an oil change and maybe change my air filter.'" And he says, "Okay," brings the car in. And when the car's back there, two of her tires are bald. But he doesn't want to tell your mom or your wife because, like, "Oh, she didn't really come in for that. I don't want to try to upsell her." When your wife or your mom is driving around town with 2 bald tires, and the mechanic knew that, and he didn't tell your mom about it, are you happy about that, or are you mad about it? It's a disservice. You're
It's a
mad.
disservice to us because we would have no idea because we don't know
You're
that. Well, I'm not
mad.
going in the back and checking the
They
tires.
took
I would
away
expect them to tell me,
your
like, "Hey, by the
mother's
way, we need."
opportunity to decide to get 2 new tires by not mentioning it,
Mhm.
right? Now, if you mention it and I say,
Yep.
"Hey, I noticed 2 of your tires are bald, and this can happen, you know, they can blow out on the road or whatever, you can be stranded. We do offer tires. Are you interested?" And if she says, "No, I'm gonna do that later." Okay. You left it up to her. But when you don't mention it, you don't even give them an
Mhm.
opportunity. So that's what upselling is about. It's not about coming up with a bunch of random nonsense or telling people their tires are bald when they're not, telling people they need this UV purifier when they don't. It's about you noticed something bad and you're giving them an opportunity to say yes or no. And it becomes a win-win. The customer wins because now they're driving around safe on the road or they're breathing fresh air. They have a win. You have a win as a company because you just made more money, right? It's nobody loses. If the customer can win, if you can win, that makes for a lot of trust in the community. Or you can just say, well, I'm never going to do that and just take away people's opportunities. And once they find out, they will never call you again.
Yeah, it's literally just presenting
Yeah.
solutions to
Yeah.
potential problems. That's really the name of the game. And if people don't know that there's problems, which most
Yeah.
homeowners you talk to, they know nothing about HVAC. They don't know if they're not up there in the vents. They're not looking at
That's
stuff.
why
They don't
you're
know if
there.
it's
I mean,
dirty coils in the back. It's just like, hey, by the way, this is like this. But one of the most powerful things. So we went and we had our car serviced, and I was going to make a post about this. They took a video of a recap video of everything going on with the car. So we went in there for an oil change, something very like basic, just like you said. And then we got an email with a video attached to it. And I was like, oh, what's this? And it was the technician. He went in with his camera and said, by the way, so this fluid right here, this should be brown. This is black. That's your transmission fluid. What that means is it's a lot of wear and tear. I do recommend that you would get this serviced. It should be something, but it's not causing problems right now, but it could down the road. And then he went around and did like a, like not a 32-point inspection listing everything, but he listed all the main ones that would concern me the most. And then when he sent it, it showed me, I was
mm,
like, oh, he's not just saying stuff. You go to a car mechanic, they're like, oh, you need new transmission. And you're just like, no, I don't. Like, how would I know that? But if they show you a video being like, this is why, you're like, ah, and you instantly understand it because the video is
yeah.
going to say 10,000 words, and it's going to be like, all right, I understand
Yeah,
this now,
there's
and I'll
value
make a
now
better informed
attached.
decision. Exactly. And it's going to be tough to do that. It's not tough to do that with HVAC. You go in, you're doing a tune up on the outdoor system, you show them the coils, you show things that are maybe corroding, go into the vents and you show them, like the dirt that's actually there. And it just allows your customer to make a better informed decision and it doesn't feel like selling. It feels like you're a
100%. I
doctor
love
trying to
it.
solve a problem. And that's the
All
best
right,
thing
so we're
for them.
getting close to the end here. We can talk about business all day. So yeah, I love it.
I know, man.
So
It's
we're
always
getting
good
close to
talking
the
to you.
end. So we covered what makes a good ad. We covered what makes a good follow-up process, and we even talked about upselling out of the blue. So as we close, any final thoughts?
No, it's just, you're heading into the slow season. And even though I know like you're still busy, it's great, but eventually you're going to have like that little, there's ebbs and flows to any business. So while you're in the, slow time, just take care of your admin work. Get your CRM really dialed in. You want to make sure you have automations in place. If you have any AI agents that you've been thinking about, it's not for everyone, but even without AI agents, you can still set just a follow-up process with text that you write yourself, put it into a CRM, and just make sure that, going into the winter season, any new lead that comes in, it's going to get the full attention of your business with the follow-ups, with the pipeline being documented correctly as an opportunity. And it's really going to help you win a lot more business in the winter season and
I love
feed
it.
you
I love
until
it.
summer comes again.
Always good talking to you. I will put the information of some of the things that we talked about for people who want some options. I'll put them in the description of this video. Until next time, Brian, thanks for being on.
Always good talking to you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Great to see you, man. We'll talk to you again soon.